Welcome to Writers on Writing. We're talking with author and poet Rajani LaRocca. Let me
Yes.
ask you about theme because often what the character learns is very related to, what kind of message the book carries as a whole or what kind of issue that the book is exploring. Um,
Mm.
yeah, and what kind of what the reader takes away. Yeah, how do you get a theme in your book or
Yeah.
yeah, that seems hard.
Well, okay. So I think that it seems hard, except like most of the time I know what the theme of my book is
Ah,
before I start writing it. Right?
ah, yes.
Right.
Mm,
Because you've thought enough about what's going to happen in this book, and you're like, oh, this book is about XYZ. What on the back of the jacket cover when you're like,
yes.
in this beautiful book, blah 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 about blah 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 blah. You're like, oh yeah, that's the theme. So for
Yeah.
example, Midsummer's Mayhem, I realized that um I mean that book is about um understanding your worth, right?
Mm,
And like by the end of the book, Mimi realizes she doesn't have to win anything for her family to love her, right?
yes.
So and she has to like internalize that, right? And in Much Ado About Baseball, the theme is finding your people. You know what I
Mm,
mean? And like being open to that. And like setting aside like embarrassing secrets from the past and moving on from that. Um Red, White, and Whole, the theme is how to be a whole person when you feel split into different parts, right?
yes.
And yes, and Mirror to Mirror is about um sharing what is hurting you with the people you love, right? Like
Mm,
being able to open up about that and not restricting yourself to being somebody who's perfect.
mm,
So yeah, so
yeah.
I think a lot of times when we think of story ideas and a lot of times I do the little exercise where I will write the jacket copy before like pretty early on in the book before I'm done writing it. I'll write the jacket copy and I'll say, "Oh yeah, this is the book about blah blah and blah." I'm like, "There you go. That's what the book is about." And then when you're stuck in the middle of your book and you're like, "I have no idea what this book is. What am I even doing?" Go back and read that and say, "Aha, that's what this book is about. Now I remember."
Yes, that you it centers you again and gets you like focused and moving forward again. And but
Yes.
but the magic thing is that so okay, the heart of this book is about, like acceptance or love or I'm worthy. And
Mhm.
then but then you never say that. You never say like, and she realized that she was worthy, like and
Right.
some writers think they're supposed to put that somewhere, but your books, you don't do that. Like
No,
it's more sophisticated.
well, yeah, I mean, I guess so because most of the time people don't say exactly what they have learned, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes so one thing that I love that is a really fun, I think, technique in all kinds of writing is to take a phrase that like is said or whatever, uh, kind of take a phrase from the beginning of the book and then repeat it later in the book when the character has grown
Hmm.
and the character if the character said it in the first place or if somebody else said it and the character is repeating it now, it means something different because the character has changed. So I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. Sometimes so when you look at like screenwriting books, they often talk about themes stated, and I think in movies you see this a lot where like some other character says the theme of the entire movie early on, and then it's
Yes.
later on the main character is like they say it and you're like, "Oh
Yes.
yeah, right?" So it's
Yes.
it's interesting. Yeah. So I think you can use that, but you don't usually say, I've learned that I am, I should accept myself and I am worthy and I belong to my family. But you can have other people say it to your character. I think that's especially when we're writing for children, I think that's helpful. You can have other people that your character respects and looks up to say something like that, and the character can be like,
Yes.
"Oh
Yeah.
yeah."
At first they don't believe it, but by the end. They do, because now, like you said, they've changed, and that those words have this resonance that they didn't have before. Like it didn't feel true, but now it really feels true. Yeah. Like because
Yeah.
of the life experience of the book,
Yes.
now it's
Yes.
earned, now it's realized, and it's not a little like a platitude or something. It's real. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And you know what's really interesting? Just to like add something interesting to this conversation that is different. So I write picture books too, and a lot of times I have no idea what the theme of a picture book is until after I've written it and revised it like 10 times. And I'm like, oh, and then like a lot of times I'll go to my critique group and I'll read the picture book with them. And they'll be like, it sounds like what you're trying to say is X. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Thank you for helping me figure out what it is I'm trying to say, because I couldn't tell.
Yes. So the writing process itself can kind of lead to the theme, and you don't have to be too
You
afraid
don't have
if
to know in the beginning. You don't
yeah,
have to know in the beginning. Yeah.
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 Oh, that's
Absolutely.
awesome. That's great. Oh, thank you so much.